Hey there, everyone. I see Norma Angelica is already here, and Made by Misty is here, and we are just popping on. I decided I was going to do a Rosanne today. I had someone post a Rosanne in the Facebook group not too long ago with some, I can't remember if it was leather or faux leather, and I'm sorry I can't remember who it was, but the bag was beautiful, and we have a faux leather very, very similar. It's summertime, time for nice, bright, white, bags. And so I decided to, let's go ahead and make a Rosanne. So last time I made a Rosanne, I made it on my Burnett. So I decided to do it on my industrial today. So we're going to be sewing here. Let's see, we've got some more people. All things Stephanie from Michigan, and Cindy is here. So, all right, thank you all. So Made by Misty says, this is the only pattern I don't have yet. This is one of our most popular patterns. Originally, it was a cutting chart pattern, and then we ended up, we had a couple of teachers that wanted to teach it, and so in order to teach it, quote unquote, teach it in a shop, they really needed a written pattern. So I ended up breaking down last year and writing the pattern for it, which I meant to do for a while, but time gets away from you. And so anyway, now it's an official pattern, so yay. All right, so, oh, Cindy, you're from Sacramento. Are you going to the Sac Bag and Sew? I can't remember. We've had so many people in our classes that we're having to send invoices out for. I think you were one of them, but I couldn't swear to it. So Gypsy Robin's here, and Cindy says, I don't have this one yet. Okay, well, here we go. I'm going to kind of move you down. Well, actually, I don't know that I need to move you that much. I'm just going to get out of the camera. Let me move it a little bit closer, maybe zoom in just a tad. Got all jammed up, and I had to take my whole machine apart. So anyway, I'm glad that did not happen live. Although what you would have gotten was a lesson on how to fix an industrial machine versus how to sew a Rosanne. So, okay, so Cindy, you're in my Julie class. Yay. We're going to be sending out emails probably, we don't want to send them out too early. It'll probably be beginning of September to just kind of let you know what you need to bring to class and, all that kind of good stuff. I think it was in the original sign-up sheet or sign-up thing, but we're going to send you emails as well. So anyway, this is the faux we're using today. We have this in this, we kind of debate, is it dark gray or is it black? And we decided that today it's going to be dark gray because we're going to put this dark gray with it. And we have it also in a blue and black, a really pretty blue. But I thought for summer this would be really pretty. And so, again, I wish I could remember who did it, but somebody did a really beautiful Rosanne in this and posted it on the Facebook group. It was like a brown and then a darker brown, and it was just really beautiful. So we are going to start out by, we can go over pattern pieces just real quickly. Of course, you have your two, front back pieces. We have our side pieces, and these have some Decaville light on them. Now the front and back pieces, Decaville light doesn't go all the way to the bottom. Once we stitch these two together, we're going to put some Decaville heavy here at the bottom. Okay, so I'll have to jump off camera for just a second to do that. Then we have our overlay, and this overlay piece goes like this on the bag. We have our two upper linings, and of course the upper lining has the Decaville light on the back. We have two handle pieces. I already have my line drawn and my double-sided tape on the back. We have our zipper overlay, our slip pocket accent. I cheated a little bit. I already did my key fob, which again, I'm glad I did because I was able to fix my machine before the live, so hopefully it doesn't break again. Hey, Cheryl. And Valerie is here. Hello. So I'm going to put some, oh, that's right. The other thing I have, and I think I left this piece possibly on my cutting table. Taylor, can you run and see if I have a piece like this on my cutting table? This is the piece for the, and I should need the pattern. This is going to be our tab. So the tab piece is, once we kind of get this put together, we're going to take and I'm going to trace this out on here and we'll cut that. So I'll show you how to do that. And then what else do we have? Of course, we have our lining pieces, which is our slip pocket, our zipper pockets, and then our main lining pieces. And then here, this is the Rosanne that was done. So this is Kathy Johnson. She said it was her first Rosanne, and I really like the way she did it with it's basically the same fabric, it's just a different color, and then she used the solid. So we're going to copy her. So Kathy, I appreciate you making this and posting it, because we're going to do exactly the same thing. See, I get inspired from all of you. Okay, so we have our lining pieces. I am going to put some purse feet on here. I'm also, for the flap, I'm going to use our new magnetic snaps. These are the ones that you put the snap in one, and then this is just like a regular magnetic snap attachment, and then we're going to cut a hole, and we're going to put that in to hold that flap down. So I see a lot of other people have joined. We have Bonnie, and then, oh, we have somebody from South Africa. Hello. Lisa says hello from Washington. Wow. Okay, so I also have a piece of Decaville Heavy that we're going to put at the bottom, as I said, once we sew our two pieces together. And then, of course, our zipper. Hey, Terry. All right, so let's start out by, let's do our handles first. I always like to do those first, just in case I run out of bobbins somewhere along the way. Let me put all this aside. And as I mentioned, I had already put my double-sided tape on here, so I'm just going to go ahead and peel off one side. Now, for those of you who might still periodically run into problems with twisting handles, make sure that when you fold your sides up, you do two things. Number one, you don't want to put it all the way to the line. Okay, you want to, when you fold this up, keep it just is. I'm going to line this up. So now this edge is nice and flat and straight. I know I'm right on target. I'm going to go ahead and do this side. Okay, same thing, it's nice and straight. Somewhere here in the middle, I put it up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and very carefully, just below the line, push the rest of this down. You see, I'm not pulling on this at all, just pushing it down. So we're going to do the same thing here. So how many of you have made Rosannes? I know a lot of you have, because they're all over the Facebook group. Let's see who else we have here. Harriet is here, joining from the Netherlands. Wow, you're all over the place. Melanie's from California. Thank you for joining me. This is obviously, I don't do lives very often. We are officially, I guess you could say officially, moved into the warehouse. We still have a couple of things, but so much of my time has been taken with that and getting all that set up and getting the software set up and yada, yada, yada. But I think we're finally to a point where we can say we're officially good to go. So Misty says, so Chris, do you have any specific guidelines for whether or not to use purse feet? I've seen some that use them, not needed. Others don't use them, but I think they should. Okay, so my guideline, and this is personal preference, there's no rule to any of this, is I don't particularly like to put them on crossbody bags. I just feel like you don't really put your crossbody bag down as much. I like to put them on totes, like mid-size to large totes, if that's fair. You can put them on crossbodies. There's no rule that says you can't, but just for whatever reason, I tend to not do that. I guess because a lot of times they're smaller. You know, I guess maybe if I had a mid-size crossbody, I might do it. Thank you, Cheryl. Says, congratulations. It has definitely been, let's just say that with all the things we've needed, my credit cards have definitely gotten to work out. Okay, so getting all this pushed down. So my point in all that warehouse talk was that I'm really now back on track, hopefully starting to try to do some videos, more videos besides the Bag Maker's Workroom, which I know all of you watch on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. But anyway, more of these for sure coming up. So if there's something you want to see, make sure you let me know and we will get it recorded. And we'd like to do some more sew-alongs. We did a Sienna sew-along not too long ago. A lot of you joined us for that. We did a Simply Classic Clutch one. So if there's one in particular you want to see, we will do it. So we are in Georgia, as most of you know, and let me tell you, the heat has been crazy. Our heat index has been well over 100 every day. We're talking like 108, 111. It has just been crazy. And here in Georgia, we don't get any kind of ocean breeze. I mean, we're not anywhere near that. So we're just like hot and humid. It has been really kind of miserable. Hi, Diane. You like sewing lives? Yes. It gives us a chance to chat. And that's what I like so much about them myself. Norma Angelica says, I love your videos. Thank you so much. And then CC is here from Tampa. All right, I have the ability to switch this over. So I'm going to switch it over to the close-up. And we will get started on that. Hopefully you'll see that come up here. I think we got a little bit of a delay. There we go. Okay, I'm going to use my edge guide. Can everybody see this close-up okay? Hi, Chris from Vermont via Missouri. Okay, you're all over the place. Love it. Oh, I accidentally turned my machine off. Let's turn that back on. All right, here we go. So Made by Misty says that she's in Tampa as well. What are your temperatures in Tampa right now? Because here, like I said, we are like ridiculously hot. When you try to get in the pool, and even the pool is hot. Yeah, y'all are hot there too, yeah. Oof. So I decided on this Rosanne, I'm not going to put strap connectors. I'm just going to connect the straps directly to the bag. So I'm going to bypass that part. Ooh, Diane says she's working on her Zara. But you ended up being on the phone for a couple of hours. Hopefully it was a good call. Okay. So I had never really used the Rosanne before as my personal bag. It's just one of those things. And we were in Salt Lake City. Taylor and I were in Salt Lake City not too long ago. And we had to pack some bags. Well, when we were trying to come home with them, we didn't have enough room in our suitcase. So I ended up putting the bag I was using inside the Rosanne and just using the Rosanne. Well, now I'm just using the Rosanne. I really like it. I like the size of it. I'm using today is the Floral Lizard in black and white. We're calling it black and white. And then the gray I'm using is our dark gray solid. All right, let me go back to the main screen here. And we are having a sale right now. It is yeah, I think it's buy one, get one half off. We've never done that before. So we're always trying to do new things. Oh, sorry, buy one, get one 20% off. See, that's the reason why So basically I used one roll of because you're fussy cutting this, you have to, basically the whole roll is used up with this and the upper lining. And then I used basically a roll of gray, although you'll have some left over. So maybe Misty says that it's 91, but it feels like 100. Crazy part, last night at 11, it still felt like 100. Yeah, I know. We get no reprieve from the heat. It is awful. Cheryl says, when is the Zara available for purchase? It is going to be July. We were going to say August 1st, but we're actually going to do it July 31st. So about a week in about 10 days. About 10 days. So Lady Pink says, I can't wait to get back home. I'll bet. When you're not used to the heat like this, whew. 95 in Oklahoma feels like 100. Oh, okay. So CC says, I'm working on the sienna, the small sienna. I'm not sure if I should add feet. Small sienna is really small, but it doesn't mean you can't. Maybe just add 4 feet. Lady Pink says, 92 feels like 105, serious heat wave. I'm inside with the air. I hear you. Thank God. Whoever invented air conditioning is like a saint. They are amazing. Okay, so I'm just finding the centers here because I want to make sure that this piece is centered. This little overlay piece. I'm going to lay that down. Edge coating the edges, if you wanted to, you certainly could. I did run a lighter underneath a few areas to get the little fuzzies gone. Oh, CC says, this is my first live with you, Chris. Oh, well, thank you for joining us. You need to join us if you can on Thursday evenings for the Bag Makers Workroom. We have a lot of good information there. Oh, hold on, let me switch you. We have a lot of good information and a lot of history and just all kinds of good stuff. And July is Leather Month. So Leather Month just means that we're focusing all of our episodes on leather, using leather. So we've got a lot of cool stuff planned. We still have a few episodes left. I think 2 more in July. Now, whenever I have these kind of sharp curves, I always just kind of hand crank, make sure they're nice and pretty, especially since it's on the front. across this little bottom section. One more. Thanks, Cheryl. So CC was asking if the Bag Makers Workroom was on YouTube or Facebook, and it is on YouTube. We do try to stream to Instagram as well, so it should be on Instagram. But YouTube is definitely the main platform. I'm going to go across this top section too, just to kind of hold it down so that when I sew the top together, I don't have any problems. Okay, Cece says my first name is Candace. Thank you, Candace. Norma Angelica says, I got my order today for the Sienna. All right. The Sienna ended up being, in the end, one of our most popular bags. The Julie, the Bircham, the Sienna, and the Rosanne. Those are the bags to have. Okay, so from here, oh, hold on, let me turn you. I gotta remember to do that. From here, we're gonna mark the placement and go ahead and put our male side of our magnetic snap on. So all I'm going to do is go ahead and lay this down, and with my silver marking pen, put a little dot there. Punch a hole. Might have to punch a hole with my manual hole punch. Let me get that, and we will do that. Okay. Sometimes these are not good for everything. It's hard to reach places. And actually, I really want to not punch a hole. I want to put slits. So let me get a little washer. Hey, Taylor. Taylor. That's okay. I got it. I got it. Yep, I got it. Sorry, I couldn't find a little washer, but I found one. So actually, instead of punching a hole, I'm just going to go ahead.
Hi, Cheryl, and everyone else.
Taylor says hello back. So even though we have our warehouse pretty much good to go, we do keep all of our filming here in our original location. And so we are here today instead of there. We got half the crew there and half the crew here. Go ahead and bend these down. Okay. So from here, I want to put some, I have this nice big wide double-sided tape that I got from, I call it Waywack, but I think the actual way you pronounce it is Wawack or Wawack. I like to put that right over the back. And then the other thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put my tag on. Now, when you put your tag on, you need to make sure you put it on high enough, because the tendency right now is you're going to want to put it here. But the reality is that this is going to fold in, because see, our Decaville is way up here. This is going to fold here, and it needs to be put higher. I like to usually put mine about 1.5 to 2 inches from the bottom, something like that. So I'm going to do that. Cheryl says, dying to come to Georgia. We don't come now. It is way too hot. You know, the goal, okay, the long-term goal is to have a classroom by the warehouse. Okay, we have a couple acres that we can expand. And we would like to eventually have a classroom there so that we can obviously have classes and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Have local people. We actually have some local bag makers that would probably like to come and stitch some, and it's expensive to move, right? It's no matter how much you try to minimize the cost, it just is what it is. And so once we do that, we'll build another building, get a classroom out there, and then be able to do more. And another goal is to eventually have a retail location in Thompson. So we're located in Thompson, Georgia. Really nice, kind of quaint southern town. It's outside of Augusta. It's west of Augusta, and it is growing. Augusta is expanding, so it has, you know how towns do. You got to go somewhere. So it's kind of moving out in that direction. So Thompson has a Starbucks now and a Chick-fil-A and all those cool little places. And so it is growing. We got a Hampton Inn, all kinds of good stuff. Okay, so this is where we're at. This is what we have so far. We are now going to put our two sides together, front and back. Clip the bottom, and we're going to stitch. Now, for this pattern, the seam allowance changes from 1/2 inch to, there's a few places where it's a 1/4 inch. Make sure you pay attention to the pattern. I do have it correct in the pattern. I might say it wrong here by accident, but pretty much, you know, what you see in the pattern is correct. I do know here it's 1/2 inch. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and switch you over, and we will stitch 1/2 inch seam allowance. Cheryl says, exciting goals. I'm happy for you. Thank you. It has moved fast. Some days not fast enough. Some days too fast. Okay, so Norma Angelica's asking, is it possible to embroider on faux leather? Yes, it is. And our faux, you know, obviously use a solid or one of our textures. Even the suedes would really do beautifully, embroider beautifully. But yes, you can absolutely do it, and it is amazing when you do. So one of the things that moving is doing for me is it's kind of giving me back my workspace, my workroom. I'm super excited about it. And don't get me wrong, I love my team, but I really am excited about getting my workspace back. And part of that is my embroidery machine. So I have a Brothers 6-needle machine. And so in the future, I might go ahead and just do a couple of videos on embroidering on leather and faux leather. You can do it on both. Is it full? I'm assuming you're asking about the Florida retreat. No. Yes and no. Okay, it's showing sold out, but a couple people have dropped out. So if you're interested, Candace, shoot me an email and we'll get you on the waiting list. And what we're doing is that we are contacting people in the order they were put on the waiting list to see if they would like to join the retreat. So my email address is Chris, C-H-R-I-S, Chris, at simplyclassic.net. And I'll get you on there. Jan Banks is the one that will be contacting you if you'd like to be, or like when she reaches out to see if you'd like to join the retreat. She's the one that's kind of running it. And of course, Barbie Taylor from Genie Designs is also going to be teaching. She'll be teaching a faux leather bag, and I'll be teaching a leather bag. So all I'm doing there is just cutting out a little bit of that bulk. And when you go to put this on, you know what? I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape to hold the seam on. Actually, no, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to top stitch it. Let's do that. So I'm going to switch you back over. We're going to just top stitch this down. I am using the Midnight Gray thread. It comes in a Tex 45 and a Tex 70 from our website. And of course it shows up pretty good on the white, but it blends in really great with the darker color here. So Bonnie says, Chris, I like the tape measure at the needle plate. Is it taped on? Yes. Here, I'll show you what it is. It's masking tape. And so all I do is measure over from the needle to see, you know, where the ½ inch mark is or whatnot. And I just peel it off and cut it and put it on. And I usually put 2 layers. You can see there's 2 layers here. I don't really care what the numbers are. I'm more worried about the 1/4 inch, ½ inch marks, 1 inch marks. And then when it gets kind of, you know, raggedy, I just peel it off and put another. I've had this for, I know, 2 years, and you see how much of it I have left. And you can just get this at like Staples or off Amazon. It's really been wonderful because I've tried to get a needle plate that has measurements, and for this console, you cannot get it. So I had to improvise. Okay, so this is what we have. Now when I go to put my Decaville Heavy on, I'm going to center it, and I should have little areas, like just a tiny, tiny scant 1/8 of an inch between the Decaville Heavy and the Decaville Light in both sides. If If you don't, you can trim this deckable heavy back just a tad. But what that's going to do is that when you flip your bag up, it's going to give you a nice crisp edge here at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to run over to my iron real quick and adhere this down. Y'all stick with me. I'll be right back. I'm going to run over here and do that. I just couldn't get that on camera. So I think y'all can still hear me. The best way to adhere this is with a heat press. And I do have a heat press. I do not have it turned on. So I'm just going to make do with this right now. So I just have my iron going, and I'm pressing it that way. And I have an Oliso iron, one of those ones that kind of jumps up and down on its own. I have a mini one, and I have a big one. Really like them. I wasn't sure because I had heard mixed reviews about the mechanism stopping to working, like the mechanism that makes it rise and fall. Some people had problems with them. I have not. So it's been a good iron for me. Okay, so gets it on. All right. So we have it on, and then this gives us nice crisp edges. A lot of times while it's hot from being pressed, I even like to go ahead and just kind of rub my finger, like kind of form a crease. I think it helps. And then from here, I am going to put purse feet on. Now, somebody asked me one time, not too long ago, about purse feet and how many and how do you determine that? If the bigger the bag, the more purse feet. Okay, so if I have a really big tote, I'm going to put 6 at a minimum. If I have a bag like this, because essentially this is the bottom, where there's a seam, I am not going to put 5 because I don't want to risk cutting into the seam. So I'll either put 4 or I'll put 6, depending on the size of the bag. I think on this one, I'm going to put 4. And usually when I measure for purse feet, I measure 1 inch from each . And then from here and here. And then where my lines intersect is where I'm going to put the purse feet. Oh, so Misty says that you just received your 4th replacement Oliso iron last week. Really? See, that's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of people have problems with them. So I bought it with the understanding that, you know, it just might not be the best thing in the world, but knock on wood, let me find some wood, I have not had any problems. So Misty, are they standing by it and are they sending you new replacement irons like for free? I'd be interested to know that. Here, let's see. Let me do it this way. So I'm just going to put little slits here. Okay, Candace, your email's been sent. We'll make sure I get it to the right person. I think she said I think we have 11 people in the retreat, and out of the 11, like 4 couldn't make it. Something has come up. So you might be one of the lucky ones. Hopefully you are. Okay, let's see. I know I'm putting this in wrong. I just need to find my hole. That one didn't go through. That one didn't go through either. There we go. That one did. There we go. So let's see. Lady Pink says, made by Misty, I've had my Oluso for quite a few years. It has started leaking a bit. I have the small one too. It started leaking about a year ago. I only use that for dry heat. You know, one thing I have to say, I've never put water in my iron. I've always just used a misting bottle. And actually, I like the flatter spray. I really don't even use water. Yes, free so far because it's all been within warranty times. But for 200 plus, one would think it would last a bit longer. Yeah, I would think so too. It's my 3rd replacement. I haven't even ironed with it. Simply plugged it in, and it started making a nasty noise the minute I touched it. Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah, so I think if you're on the fence about a new iron, I don't know. I'm not sure what to tell you. A lot of the more traditional brands, I'm trying to think of the one we have in the house, Rowenta or something. They're wonderful irons. I mean, there's definitely nothing wrong with those at all. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this giant tape on here as well. So Candace says that yours leaked. You kept blaming your dog. Sure your dog didn't like that. I bought mine when it first came out, never again. Going with a bottle feed. Yeah, that's one thing I did not do. I did not put water in it. Because I'm not good about emptying the water when I'm done sewing, and so it would kind of get a little rusty. Ugh, yeah, it wasn't my thing. Anyway, so I just decided that I would just not put water in it. What kind of tape you're using? So I'm using the double-sided tape, the Hyper Stick from Stick. I know that they have different variedness or whatever of stickiness. So you don't have to get the Hyper Stick. You can get like the medium stick or whatnot. Just whatever your machine will handle. My boys bought me the Rowenta Perfect Steam. Love it. Yeah. I think the Rowentas are really, they've been making irons a long time. I think they even have some that have a tank, like that separate tank that the iron sits on. I think I had one of those one time. So I'm sorry, I'm not explaining what I'm doing. I'm clipping, mark the center of the bottom of the side. So I'm going ahead and clipping those on, and I'm going to stitch them. When I stitch, I'm going to stitch like right off this little square here. So from right here all the way over to the other side. Candace says, that's mine, it has a tank. Yes, yep. Good stuff. When you have equipment that works well, it makes the job a lot easier and more enjoyable. This part is a 1/2 inch seam allowance as well. So what I did is I lined up the center mark that I made on the side pieces, the bottom of the side pieces, with the seam, with the bottom seam down here. And now what I'm going to do is take my scissors and cut even with this edge right here. I'm going to cut the bag because I want this side to cut here in order to make that work. So I'm just going to cut right up along the edge of the side piece. Okay, just like that on both of these. And now I will be able to make that turn. So I'm going to line up my top edges first. Make sure those are good to go. And then line up the rest of the side. Can't see what you're doing. Okay. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I forgot to cut you over. Thank you for telling me that. So usually I have Taylor here doing that. And I have her doing other things today. Okay, let me explain that again. Sorry, y'all. So I lined up the center of my bottom with the actual side, or the seam here at the bottom. Okay, makes sense. Then what I did is from here I had to make cuts. So see how right here I have a cut? I actually had to cut the bag, the main part of the bag, right at this edge. So right at both of my bottom edges, I made relief cuts. And I only made them up to the point here. Okay, so just a little relief cut, little relief cut. Because if I don't, when I go to make this turn, when I go to attach this like this, this is not going to turn, right? Because it's going to be all one and it's going to be all wonky. So I want to make sure that it can make the turn, and in order to do that, it just has to, you have to make it, put a little relief cut here. Okay? Good? So now I'm just clipping my sides. I'll do that on this side as well. And by matching the top first, you're going to make sure your top is nice and even. You know, if you had something that had to be off a little bit, you'd rather it be the bottom than the top. Tan and brown. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And I thought, well, I need to do one of those because we have that faux. We have it in this black and white, and we also have it in a blue and white. And I just think it would be a really pretty summer bag. And we're having a sale right now on certain, it's buy one roll of faux, get one 20% off. And of course you need 2 rolls for this. So this will get you what you need. So Diane says, I was going to get the Rosanne, just found I already have it. Oh, good. Planning to do it soon. Good deal. All right, I'm going to switch you over again. And hopefully you now are seeing the close-up here. We're going to go ahead and stitch. Now, the good thing about having that relief cut is that as you stitch, you can stitch right off the bottom. I'm going to show you that in just a second. So this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Come down. I'm just going to kind of fold this bottom out of the way. And then when I get here, I'm just going to be able to move this bottom here, just move it out of the way and stitch right off the edge. Okay, I'm going to turn it around, and down here, I'm going to do the same thing, only opposite. I'm just going to move this out of the way and stitch right on. Got to maneuver it. There we go. Now, the good thing about the Rosanne is that there are no intersecting seams. And what I mean by that is that you'll see the side seams, which is basically what we're doing right now, okay? So like these side seams comes in, you know, more like here, where the side seams of the bag are over here. So because there's no intersecting seams, it really makes it a nice bag to make on a semi-industrial or domestic machine, because you don't have a lot of bulk. I really try to do that as much as possible with bags. Even when you're using an industrial machine, it certainly helps. So I'm going to just move this bottom out of the way, stitch right off the bottom. Lady Pink says, I don't know what's wrong with this internet, but it keeps dragging and skipping. We are connected directly to the internet with a hardwire, so hopefully it's not us. Is anybody else having that problem? Because that's no fun when you're trying to watch something and it keeps dragging and skipping. Diane says, yes, same problem also, though it was where I am. Okay. So it could be either one. That's, you know, internet's great, right? But sometimes it's not so great. Okay, I'm just going to cut these back, these seam allowances, before I turn this. Yeah, we're already ready to turn the bag. Now, whenever I cut the seam allowance to the top, I don't go all the way to the top. I leave a little bit. uncut so that I can open. Okay, do the same thing here. So far we've done all 1/2 inch seam allowances. Okay, so from here, we can go ahead and turn this thing. So let's do that. See how we did. Okay. I actually like the dark gray with it. Lady Pink says, I need to make it. I know I have the pattern. It is so pretty. Thank you. I think that this really helps it too. I mean, obviously you can do, you know, a solid here or some other kind of pattern, but I really like this kind of, we called it floral lizard. There was a leather that I think Tandy had for a little while that was almost exactly like this. And when I saw it, I thought, ooh, I really need to get that faux. I really love it. And so that's why we got this black and white. But it's really a pretty color. Okay, let's set that aside for just a minute. And let's work on our flap. So the flap, you're usually, you want to edge paint and do all that once you cut it. So what I typically do is, in order to make sure that my edges match really nicely, I want to go ahead and cut both pieces together. So what I'm going to do is kind of just put some double-sided tape on here. So this is held top. So now when I place this pattern piece on here, I'm just going to kind of center it and place it at the top, and then I'll know where to trace. Because I do want the stabilizer to be kind of in the middle of this flap, obviously. So I'm going to put these two pieces wrong sides together. And then I'm going to place this here. I'm going to go ahead and clip it in place. And then use my silver marking pen to trace around. And then I'm going to stitch. And then I'll cut it. So this that I'm drawing in is the cut line. So when I stitch, I'm not going to stitch on this line. I'm going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch or to 1/4 inch, really probably more like 1/4 inch away from the line. Okay. So I'm going to stitch, and then I'll use my good sharp scissors to cut. I will switch you over. And I have a pretty sharp turn here, so I'm just going to do little hand stitches or hand cranks. And then continue up. And do one more. Okay, so now that I have that done, you can see I stitched about 1/4 inch all the way around. And the key to this is not stopping, I find, because if I end up stopping, then I get kind of a jagged edge. Taylor, I'm going to need 2 magnetic snaps, if you can find them, 2 nickel. And then I'm just going to kind of wipe off my marks. And then from here, you can base coat and edge paint these sides. I'm going to just skip that part for right now, but that's certainly something you can do. And then we're just going to set this aside. That's done for right now. And we're going to move on to the lining. So it says the buffering is skipping and a bit frustrating. I think I'll watch the replay later. Okay, sorry about that, Leslie. Taylor's back. She's going to try to work on that buffering for you guys. She'll do that now. We'll, I was looking for magnetic snaps, but we'll get those in just a minute. She'll work on the buffering. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start on this lining. And so what I'm going to do is put my zipper wrong side down on my zipper pocket. And I like to use 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape for this. So I'm going to just go ahead and put that right along the top. I feel like it helps with the waviness of the zipper. We're just going to go ahead and place this right on top. And then we're going to stitch. Thank you. Make sure that your zipper tape is flat. Okay, so I'm going to actually flatten out the zipper tape. Okay, so you can see here as I do this, I'm going to be top stitching the tape down to the pocket. I'm going to peel the backing off the other side and repeat that process. So make sure that everything is lined up. Was it happening for you too? A little bit. And then we're going to open this up and top stitch. Go ahead and add a zipper pull. And then we're going to take our slip pocket, fold it in half. So basically the short ends are meeting, and we're going to stitch. And then we're going to do that out, and I'm going to use my little point and press tool here and just kind of finish poking that out. And then there's no cutting of the seams. And see how nice and sharp that point is, that turn. So we're going to do the same thing here. And then you can certainly go and press this. Try to do a little finger press here. And then I'm going to top stitch this closed. This is just a scant 1/8 of an inch. If this is off, I'm going to just kind of even this up. Taylor's working on the buffering issue, so hopefully you are seeing an improvement. She took away my comments, so I can't see the comments right now. But she is working on it, so hopefully you are seeing a difference, or you will in just a minute. So I'm going to put my upper lining on, or my slip pocket accent on by just yes. All right. Okay. So we just turned our Wi-Fi's off on our phones. Hopefully that will help. And Taylor, I can't see comments anymore. Okay. So Candace says, I love that trick. Yeah, that was taught to me by a dressmaker. It's not my trick. And that's how they do that in factories, because they don't have time to stop and cut and, you know, every single time they'd have to do a point for a shirt collar or... Okay, so from here, we're just going to cut off the little edges. So I just cut the edges even with the pocket, so they're nice and pretty. Then we're going to find the center of our lining pieces. So I'm going to do that at the top and at the bottom. So those point and press tools we have them on our website. They're the OESD point and turn tool, or some point and press tool, something like that. Okay, you're going to center your slip pocket, and if those of you who don't know about Sew Tight magnets, we actually, if you go to our resource page on our website, we have a source for Sew Tight magnets. You get a discount. You get like 15% off. So if you're interested in these magnets, go check that out. We will link it later on in the video for the live. It's not on there yet, but we will certainly get that for you. And all you do is stick this underneath. Now they're strong, so make sure you don't pinch your fingers. You have to kind of twist them to get them apart. And then now your pocket isn't going to fall off. Isn't that cool? I have the Sew Tight HD version, which is, I think they advertise it that that's the kind for bag makers. I don't know that it necessarily is. I think you can use really anything, any kind of their magnets, but they are really nice. So I'm going to stitch down, over, and up. If you want, you could stitch a pen pocket, you know, and I am going to do that because I always have a pen with me. So I'm going to just probably do about 1.5 inches over for a pen pocket. Let me get this out of the way. And that'll still give me enough room for a cell phone. And of course, these are the Soline Air Erase pens, which are amazing. And the good thing about these Sew Tights is that if you have an industrial machine, you see they stick to your machine too. So when I'm not using them, I just kind of put them along the top of my machine so I always know where they are. All right, so we are going to stitch around. Do one more stitch here and then come up. Get this out of the way. All right, this is where you need to be careful you don't pinch your fingers because they are strong. Okay, from here, I always like to put a little bit of extra strength on my pockets, okay, because obviously this is something we come in and out of a lot. You know, we tend to pull on, and so I love to put some rivets up here. So I'm always going to use the smallest hole on my rivet tool here and just put this within the seam allowance, basically on the upper, or on the slip pocket accent part. When I came up, I went over one stitch and then came back down on purpose so that I could put one right in that hole, basically right in between, so I'm not cutting any stitches. Okay, so this hole here is right in between that one stitch that I did. And then I'm going to put one right up here. Now the other thing is whenever I put rivets on lining pieces, I always have like these little pieces of Decoville Heavy that I keep and cut and just punch little holes in so that I can put them. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my backs on. and then press them in. Okay, and that's one side done. We're going to take the other side. We're going to find the centers and put our zipper pocket on this side. So I went ahead and put some double-sided tape on the back of my zipper overlay. You're going to go ahead and center this. And I do give you measurements in the pattern as to how far to come down. I like to, sometimes I just kind of eyeball it, whatever looks good. Should we try to get out and get back in?
I'm not really sure how to do that without any string.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, we're trying to figure out this whole buffering thing, why it's happening. We're getting a message saying it's happening, but we don't know why it's happening. It might very well be the internet on our end, even though we're plugged in, hardwired in. Too big. I have to put it. Okay, so from here we are going to go ahead and cut out the center of this overlay. I don't get real fussy in the back. I just go ahead and stitch this or cut this so that it's out of the way of the front. Just make sure you don't cut your overlay by accident. And you see that's nothing special about that, that's for sure. But when you look from the front, it's nice. It looks really pretty. So we're going to take and put some 1/4 inch double-sided tape on our zipper tape. And then we're going to center this right in the middle of our opening. So you want to center this not only from top to bottom, but also side to side, so that when you flip this over to stitch your pocket, the side of your pocket together, you have enough space. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stitch. Move my zipper pull. Perfect fussy cut on that overlay, yes. With this fabric, I am really, or with this faux, I love it. I love the way that it is, you know, it has the different colors in it. And I think sometimes it's fun to not be so perfect. Like with the slip pocket, I'm going to move you back over here. So for the slip pocket, you know, I wasn't as picky, and I kind of like the way that looks too. Where with this, I was, you know, obviously very particular. So in the back, we're going to fold this down, and we will go ahead and clip the sides. And whenever you do a pocket this way, you're always going to have this extra here, okay? That's just part of it. So I'm just going to cut that off. And interestingly, when I'm in class, a lot of times, people try to sew the pocket this way. They try to sew it up this way. It's much easier if you lay your piece face up, take the side, move it over, and then go ahead and stitch down. We're going to keep the bottom open, the bottom of this pocket open, because I want to turn the bag and I want to make sure I have enough space to sew the bottom of the lining closed. I guess that's the meaning of hyper stick. Your presser foot sticks to it sometimes. All right, so we have that completed, and we have our other side completed. And we're going to stitch our upper linings on after we put our magnetic snaps. So get your pattern piece for your magnetic snap, or for your upper lining, and it has placement for your magnetic snaps. Really, the Rosanne, in the pattern, you can either do a zipper closure, or you can do magnetic snaps. Honestly, you really should not do the zipper closure, okay? I know a lot of you like to have zipper closures on your bags. You feel like it's more secure, but this thing's got 3 magnetic snaps, and nobody's getting in it easily. If they're getting in it that easily, then they're probably like, you're probably in some serious trouble, right? So unless you really, really want a zipper, stay away from the zipper. Just do the magnetic snaps on the upper closure. That's the way the inspiration bag was. The inspiration was a Brahmin bag, actually. And it needs to just have these magnetic snaps. So I'm going to take a pencil so you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and mark them. All right, and then I'm going to take my magnetic snaps, which Taylor just brought me somewhere. Where did I put them? There they are. The only thing you want to make sure of, hey Taylor, I need to get the washers for these so I can. The only one thing you really want to make sure of is that you put the male side on the same side and the female side on the same side, okay? So you really want to make sure that that is correct. She's going to get me some washers for these, and then we'll get these on, and then we will stitch them. It shows the thickness of the material. I think I can use this faux on my domestic. Better go check out the sale. I think you can too. It is a very thin fabric. I mean, it's not, it's definitely thinner than our ostrich. Our ostrich, or actually our, what we call crockstridge, is some of the thickest. And this is really, it's a good weight. So I'm going to mark these. Poor Taylor. She was here supposed to be doing something else, and I got her running around. Okay. Needed to mark my little slits here. Taylor, you're the best, they're saying. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put they're saying you're the best.
Oh, thank you guys.
She is the best. That's why I keep her around. Couldn't do it without her. Oh, Lady Pink says, she really is. I love this channel. Thank you. We appreciate it. We know there's a lot of good content out there, a lot of good things to watch, and we appreciate you taking some time out of your day to watch us, especially since we didn't even have this planned. We just jumped on. So thank you all very much. Yeah, or even if you're watching the replay, we appreciate it. We know a lot of you work and have other commitments. You have grandkids and husbands and animals and all sorts of things going on in your life. So thank you very much. Just hit this with a mallet or something after. Makes it stay nice and tight. So Made by Misty says, I'm glad I found Chris on YouTube. Love Bagmaker's Workroom. I've been watching from the beginning, and I love all of it, but the history is my favorite. Thank you. Okay, so I have to tell you, I cannot take credit for all that. Shauna is our, she's kind of the Bagmaker's Workroom guru. She handles all of that. She does all of the research. She does all of the photos. She does all of the, I mean, pretty much everything for the Bagmaker's Workroom. She is just amazing. And so basically, you know, we plan it. Basically what happens with Bagmaker's Workroom, kind of give you a little backstory, is about a month before we go through and we plan all the future episodes. So like right now we're planning through August. And we figure out what we're going to do and, you know, what the history is that we're going to do, who we're going to talk about, and etc. And then once we get all that figured out, week by week, Shauna goes through and does all of the back work for it. And so she does like all of the history, or figures all that out. Again, finds all the photos, the inspiration bags. We go over it. Usually on Wednesdays, make any changes, do our perfect pairings and all that kind of good stuff. And then the day of, we go over it again. And then while we film, both Taylor and Shauna are here. Taylor works cameras and all the stuff behind the scenes, and Shauna's just kind of here to help us make sure we have everything we need, and it is amazing. So I might be actually the one saying it all, but trust me, they are, and especially Shauna is the one that does it all. So hats off to Shauna. So Candace says, you can tell you have a great team. I love this channel. Well, thank you. Yes, my team is amazing. Could not do it without them, I can promise you. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back here. Let's see, where did the end go? There it is. I found that this thicker double-sided tape especially is really good on the back of hardware. It does two things. It certainly helps protect your lining, but it also really holds it is, double-sided tape is permanent. It's considered permanent double-sided tape, meaning, especially this hyperstick kind, meaning, once it's on and it adheres, right away you can probably peel it off, but after time you shouldn't be able to. And so that really just helps it all, helps the hardware. And I think it was some purse feet one time I was trying to get out, and oh my gosh, it was crazy. It was tough. Okay, so we're going to take the right side. Now, when you look at this, the side that's curved is obviously the side that goes up. So you're going to put the straight side against your lining, your bottom lining piece. And we are going to clip it in place. We do the same thing on this one. Now we're going to stitch, and then we're going to top stitch. The place where the 1/4 inch seam allowance comes into place is this curved edge. And so it is, whenever you have any kind of curve, you always want to stick to a 1/4 inch, because especially when you have a convex and a concave curve, meaning, this would be concave, convex would be going outward, okay? One is longer than the other. If you actually measured from the same point on each curve to the other point, one curve, which is usually the convex curve, is longer than the concave curve. So you're trying to fit two pieces together. So whenever you do that, the larger seam allowance you take, the more you're lengthening or shortening that point A to B, okay? The smaller the seam allowance, the more you're matching them. So there's a method behind the madness there. It is something that is very, I guess you could say, mathematical in a way. It is something that just really helps your sewing when you understand that. Okay, so Made by Misty says, sorry if I missed it, but is the warehouse open to the public at all? So at this point, it is not. We do have local pickup available. We're trying to get that set up so that if you do live in the area, you don't have to pay for shipping. And we have, specific hours of pickup. You can come and get your stuff. But as far as just being open for the public to come shop, be open all the time. But again, the hope and plan is that once we kind of recover from the move, we are going to be doing something different, either opening a retail location in the town, like in the downtown area of Thompson. We're kind of one street over, the warehouse is, or building another building on the property to have some kind of retail location. It's going to be a while, okay? It's going to be probably be a few years, but it is in the mental works anyway. Okay, so from here, we are going to open up the seam allowance. Now, let me switch it to the front for just a second and show this to you. Whenever you flip a seam allowance, the stronger of the two fabrics is going to be the one that wants to stay straight, okay? So in our case, we have a cotton and we have a faux leather. And obviously the faux leather is thicker, it's going to be the one that wants to stay straight. So when you flip this, automatically that seam allowance is going to want to go towards the bottom, okay? So when you do this particular bag, it is okay to let that happen and not fight it. And basically you're going to be top stitching on your lining. Now, a lot of times when we do this, we try to flip that seam allowance up to the top because we're stitching a zipper placket in the middle of this. Since that doesn't have it, it's not really, there's no reason to force that. So let the seam allowance fall to the bottom, meaning the lower lining, okay? And just go ahead and top stitch on your lining. So I know that was a lot of explanation for a very simple thing to say top stitch on your lining, but I wanted to tell you why. So maybe we should say, well, that's okay. I'll take me a few years to save the money I'd spend. Well, there you go. You can start saving now. Whoop. What did I have there? Something fell out. Oh, it fell out of here. Shoot. When I was repairing my machine earlier, here, let me finish this. Obviously, that screw was not tightened. So for those of you who may have missed it, right before I went live, I had just, threaded my machine, put a little bit of thread, or took a little piece of faux leather and tested it, and the machine jammed, and I had to take my whole machine apart. So anyway, I'm glad it didn't happen live, but I certainly, if we, worst case scenario, you would have gotten a lesson on how to fix an industrial machine when your thread is jammed versus making the Rosanne. But luckily, we got it done, got it figured out. And, where I live, there is no industrial machine dealer. So I've had to learn how to basically deal with this machine on my own. I've had this console for about 20 years. Used to make window treatments and things like that on it. And it has obviously turned into a bag making machine. But when you buy one of these things, it's going to be with you forever. So A. Corona says, found your channel recently and really appreciate how the tutorials are done. Currently making the Sorella. All right. Yeah, the Sorella has really become a favorite bag as well. It's a great travel bag. So we're just sticking these two together. We're going to stitch down the side. Oh, you know what I forgot? The thing I tend to forget a lot, and that is the key fob. So I had pre-made my key fob, but I forgot to put it in. So I'm just going to stick it in this side. How's that? Along with my tag. So these tags just are obviously the name of the company, and I got these from a company called Dutch Label Company. It's on our resource page on our website. But if you'd like to get something like this, check them out. They really were very good about, getting me what I needed and quickly. And I just ordered a whole bunch of them, and they did a good job. So this bag does have a tapered lining. And what I mean by that is when you cut your lining, these edges are not straight, they're tapered. So you really don't have to increase your seam allowance. I am going to cut this just beyond the upper lining and then veer off because, again, I don't want to cut this so close that I can't open my seam allowance. I want to make sure that stays open when I go to stitch the final stitching. So do the same thing here. And another thing is that when you go to put your bag together, for some reason, if your upper lining and your bag, the top of your bag, the top of the lining, the top of the bag don't match up, because that happens sometimes, right? You're going to have a little extra play here to either, let it out or take it in. You really don't want to do that on your main part of your bag. You really want to make those kind of adjustments on your lining. So just kind of be aware of that. All right, we need to put our handles on. Now, I decided, as I mentioned, that I was not going to use the handle connectors. I was just going to put the handle directly on the bag. So I am going to go ahead and do that now. And I do give you a measurement as to how far away to put it. I'm going to overlap it about a 1/2 inch. I'm going to just kind of eyeball that. Make sure they look about the same. Let me turn this over. This is a kind of a personal thing here, but when I flip my handle up, I want to make sure, if I remember, that I don't see the seam side of the handle. Okay, so see, when I flip this up, I don't know if you could, this is the seam side of the handle right here. So, you got to see one side or the other. I'm going to try to flip this the other way so that when I flip it up, I don't see that. All right, let me make sure I do this in the right direction. That's just a little personal thing. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I don't. So now when I flip this up, I see the solid side. And of course, with the Rosanne, you can make the handles as long or short as you want. That's totally up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and baste these in place. I'm just going to do it from the inside. And I'm basting them at about 1/8 of an inch because this is just a 1/4 inch seam allowance at the top because of the curves. And so you don't want to stitch too far in, otherwise you're going to see it after you stitch your bag together. Okay, so there's just enough to hold it all in place. Now, if you use this method, you do have now handles to contend with. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you use the strap connector method, then all you'll have here is short little strap connectors with rectangle rings, and it's a little bit easier when you go to stitch your whole bag together. So personal preference, however you'd like to do it. I'm going to go ahead and make sure these are matched up. So while I'm matching these up, I'm also going to go ahead and mark my sides because the sides of this bag here are going to match with the upper lining seam. Okay, so again, I said no intersecting seams, and you'll see what that means in a minute when we put this together. The side seam of the upper lining is going to be here, where you see your front and your back, your basically your side seams of your outer side of your bag are here. So that really helps eliminate bulk, so you're not trying to stitch seam on seam. So Lady Pink says this bag is turning out beautifully. Thank you. I love this. This is so pretty. And again, I need to thank Kathy Johnson for it. She was the inspiration. I always tell you that I get inspiration from all of you, and that is the truth. I really do. You are all very creative. And I can promise you one thing. I do not sew any better than all of you. You are amazing sewists. I just give you ideas and you run with them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to cut you back over. We're going to stitch. We're almost done. Okay, so now that we have those handles on, we're going to go ahead and slip the exterior and the lining together. So because the lining, as you can see, is angled in, okay, you've got this kind of girlish angle, it's going to be tight. But again, we want it to be tight because that means we will not have a bulky lining. So get these magnetic snaps apart. Go ahead and slide this over. And then those marks that we made on the side of our bag here is going to go right against the seam. I'm going to open that up. Do the same thing on this side. And then the good thing too about this bag is that, you know, it's got the curves at the top, so the curves have to match. So it's pretty easy to match up the tops. Or the top. I guess there's only one top. You do want to open the seam allowance here as well. Opening those seam allowances just makes it all a little bit better, a little bit less bulky. I'm going to go ahead and clip, 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 clip. And there is a little bit of give in this. If your upper or if your lining and your main part of your body don't match exactly, because of this curve, a lot of times you can fit it in, you can make it work. And then we are going to stitch these together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to stitch it from the inside. Okay, so let me open that up. So I'm going to stitch it from the inside using 1/4 inch. Okay, I know this is going to be kind of blocking. The camera's going to be kind of, here, let me turn you over to this camera. I'll be blocking it just a little bit because of the curves. I'm having to twist the bag. So whenever I stitch, I always try to make sure I've got, a few inches of straight line ahead of me, okay? So I'll go ahead and maneuver the bag to make sure I have that. Go ahead and stitch. And then adjust as necessary. Go ahead and stop, readjust the bag. Just kind of take your time with it. Okay, we're going to curve this around. Okay, let me put you back here so you can see. I'm making sure that when I go past my handles, I am stitching beyond the basting stitch. Okay, so I think you can see right here, this is where I basted. That one right there is where I basted, and I'm stitching beyond that so that it doesn't show from the front. So let me go ahead and adjust my bag. Okay, so I'm just again making sure that I am beyond my basting stitch here. All right. So from here, we need to make some snips. Because of these curves, when we turn it, we don't want any bunching up. Okay. Candace says, I was just looking at the blue version of faux. Is the blue a light color of blue? The blue and like the same one in the blue, we do have a bag we can show you of that. Actually, it's a Fairhaven. Give us 1 second, we'll get it for you. Oh, I'm sure, yeah, I can do that. This is the blue. So it's, I would say, medium blue. I know it's sometimes hard to tell on monitors, and I would say this is really more of a black than a gray. Although gray would probably look really good with it. But like here's some black straps. A black strap I happen to have right here. That's the black with it. And then here's the gray that we're using, the dark gray. I think either one of those would go really good. The Fairhaven that we have done, we're going to show that to you too, because what I did on that one was centered this part instead of this part, and it really changes the look of the bag. Here, we're going to show that to you right now. Fairhaven's a big bag, but this is done in the blue. So I used black on this instead of gray, and it looks really nice. Fairhaven is really very similar to the Rosanne. The curve is going up instead of down, and then you also have separate, the sides are put on, actually the sides are put on the same, but you've got this bottom piece that curves up, to the top. It's a little bit bigger than the Rosanne. And it does give you the opportunity, like right here, I could have put black. This is a separate piece. So you could have some black accents here as well, or whatever color you're using. But this is probably the largest bag we have, Fairhaven. And you can do a woven panel here. We just didn't do that in this one. But, it's certainly up to you. I hope that helps. I know sometimes it's hard to see. I'd say a medium blue. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and just make little snips to get some of these little relief cuts done. I love these Kai scissors. They're nice and sharp. They're small. We do sell them on the website. They are amazing, but I'm sure y'all have your favorites. Every pair of scissors I have has a different purpose. And I have basically 1, 2, 3, 4 different pairs that they're all used for different things. One's used for cutting like zippers and patterns like paper. Those are the Kais that's what these are for, the 5220s. And then these are the Femore, and I like these at my machine because it's got a nice wide handle and just a small snip to snip these threads. These are my super sharp ones to do all my little triangles. And then my fabric scissors, like the scissors nobody is allowed to touch, are these Kai scissors, the 7230s. Really love these. They cut amazing. Actually, I do have another pair that I don't use that very often. It's this same, basically the same model, only it's got a serrated edge instead of a smooth edge. And those are really good for cutting like sheer fabrics. It really grabs the fabric. But sorry, that's just like a little lesson on zippers. Or not zippers, scissors. I'm sure, again, you all have your favorite. We all tend to have our favorite scissors that we use for different things. And Here we go. So you see here I stitched on my Decaville a little bit. That's not going to be good. It's going to be hard to turn right there. Let's see if I can snip some of that out. You really don't want to snip on your, or stitch on your stabilizer if you can help it. Cause problems when you turn. Sometimes it can't be helped. I love Kai scissors, yes. That's what Candace says. I do too. The only ones I have that are not Kai's are those Femores. And I just really like that handle. The gentleman that owns Femore is, I talk to him often. He's really a great guy, and he is, his rotary cutters and everything that he sells is just really top quality. All right, I'm going to cut this back a little bit too. Got a little extra here. So just kind of inspect all of these seams before you turn. See if there's anything you need to snip or clip or cut back. Don't cut back your handles. Okay, we overlap those about a ½ inch on purpose. We want a little extra there. We could even put a rivet once we're done if we wanted to, but that's something I usually do not cut back. Okay, I think everything else looks pretty good. So we're going to pull this bag through. And the lining I'm using is the Rosewood by Tilda. It's the Tilda fabrics that we have at the shop. Okay, as you turn this bag, you're going to have to really push these angles out. Once you do, you're probably going to be good to go. I like to kind of push so that the you don't see the upper lining on the right side. Okay, I like to kind of roll that back just a little bit. And then we'll clip, and then we'll stitch. Now, I would typically go to my cylinder arm to top stitch because that's what I got it for. It makes it nice and easy. This bag can probably pretty easily be stitched on the flatbed because of the size of it. So let's try that and see if we can get that done. Staying right here. Candace says, I love your pop of color. Yes, I tend to gravitate towards burgundies and reds and stuff for linings because I do feel like it's such a cool pop of color. I saw one the other day on our Facebook group. I think they made the Louis Vuitton. Can't remember if it was the Never Full Hack or the Graceful Hack, and they used a really bright green lining. And I thought, ooh, no, that's pretty. I think she used like a gray on the outside. Okay, so all that looks good. Once I get this lining, make sure all that's going to look good. So once I see, stitch that lining. That's going to fit in there really nice. Okay, so we are going to put you over and let's top stitch. I am going to check my bobbin because I'm probably getting low. I can probably do it, but I went ahead and wound 2, so I'm going to put the second one in just to be safe. Okay, and the main thing when top stitching on a flatbed is to make sure that you have that straight line of stitching in front of you, like I mentioned before, okay? I don't want to start in the front, obviously. The back is actually going to have the flap kind of go over it, so I'm going to start there. So I'm going to go ahead and here, let me put you to the front for just a second so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is kind of flatten this bag, right, flatten it right here at the top. Now, because the top right in the middle is white, I don't really want to start there, even though that's where my flap's going. I'd prefer to start in an area where the connecting seams, meaning where I start and stop, can be hidden a little bit with the fabric, okay? So this fabric's already obviously got a print to it. It hides the stitches a little bit better than a pure white does. So I'm probably going to start like right in here and then go all the way around. And what's more is that I think I'm going to start right on this handle. Okay. If you need to do any hand stitches, you can certainly do that around these curves. And also, I've got bulk here, not as much bulk down here. I want to make sure that the foot does not mess up my project, my walking foot. So I'm going to take some hand stitches and just make sure I get down over that hump before I start back. Because to ruin it now would be so sad. Okay, so take some good hand stitches here and then go ahead and stitch around. So now I'm coming up on my handle. I'm going to twist my bag just slightly and stitch up. And typically where you run into problems with your foot dragging is when you come down the hill, not go up the hill, okay? So as I'm stitching up over this handle, I'm not really too worried about whether the foot's going to drag there. But as I come down, that's where my concern is going to be. So like right in here, take a couple of hand stitches just to make sure I don't have any issues. And when I do those hand stitches, I am actually taking my foot off of the pedal. Now, another thing I could do, trying to throw different ideas at you here, is that as you move from one color of faux to the other, so as I'm moving from my white over to my gray, I could actually switch my thread and stitch white thread on white and stitch gray thread on gray. I have definitely been known to do that more times than once because contrast stitching is nice on bags, but I like to have my stitches match more than anything. Sometimes you don't have a choice, right? Because you don't have the color you need. So you got to make do. But I usually try to match as best as I can. Okay, so right in here, I'm going to take some hand stitches. And then once I get past, I will go ahead and continue. Just always making sure I have some straight section of stitching here to stitch on. So this is the last handle I'm going over. So I'm just going to do a couple of stitches. And once I get past that, I'll go ahead and continue. Okay. So let's go ahead and cut these threads. Look at how pretty that looks. That is really nice. You make it look so easy. Thank you, but it's a lot of practice. That's the main thing. You should, you know, the very first time I made a bag, I made a little pouch, and I brought it to my husband, and I said, "Hey, I made this. I'm so excited." And I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Well, you want my honest opinion?" And I said, "Yeah, I want your honest opinion." And he was very honest with me. And, you know, my zipper was crooked and my stitches didn't match. And, I mean, it was just a mess. But I was proud of it. It was my first bag. And as time has gone on, I have just gotten, you know, better with time, because just like anything you do in life, whether it's play baseball or, you know, sew or woodwork or play, I mean, whatever it may be, practice makes perfect. So, and please do not think I'm perfect. I am not perfect by any means. You can find a lot of things wrong with my bags, but it really does help. And you just need to try new things and always expand your skills. That's one of the things with our quarterly bag making box we try to do, is to do something different each time to really help you explore and maybe do things a little out of your comfort zone, and that's how you get better. So If you have not subscribed to that yet, it would be a great opportunity to do so. It will reopen in September 15th through the 30th. Okay, so I pulled the bottom of my bag out through my zipper pocket. I'm going to go ahead and stitch that. I am going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. So before I flip you over, you see here how my tape's starting to come undone. So basically what had happened is I had to take these screws out earlier, and this obviously didn't stick down really good. So this would be the time where I'd probably just replace these pieces of tape, and that masking tape is just amazing. Just use it forever. Okay, so I'm going to get my scissors and cut this back. The lining color makes it pop even more. This rosewood color is really pretty because it's not like in your face red. It's just, and it's not really, it's burgundy, but it's not a bright, it's like heathered. I guess that's the right word. It almost looks like a linen is what it, and that's why I really like these chambrays. That's why we carry them, is because it's the thing that most closely resembles linen that I could find that wasn't linen. Didn't have the price tag of linen. Linen has just gotten ridiculous, which is why we had to stop carrying it. It was just too much. I didn't think y'all wanted to pay, you know, $40 a yard for linen. I know I wouldn't want to. Okay, open up your seam allowance, nest your seams. Nesting your seams means you put, because these are small seam allowances, right? We cut these back. So you're going to take one and put it in one direction. You're going to take the other and put it in the other direction, and you're just going to take those two seams and put them together, okay? That's nesting seams. All we want to make sure of is that when we do the other side of the bottom, we put the seam allowance in the same direction we did on this side. Okay, so that's going to be going in this direction this time. And then we're going to stitch these using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We really want to take up any extra bits of that lining so that our lining fits really nice. So this week on the Bag Maker's Workroom, we're talking about leather stiffeners and gluing. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you tune in. We are 7 o'clock Eastern time on Thursdays. Let me switch you over so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to stitch the other. Okay, I went ahead and cut those seam allowances back. Go ahead and stick this in the bag. All looks like it's going to be good. So we'll take the pocket, the bottom of the pocket, and do you carry the tape with the measurements in your store? The masking tape, I do not, but it is stuff you can get at Staples or on Amazon. It's just masking tape with a measuring, basically a measuring tape on it, and it's really inexpensive on Amazon and at Staples. And so it is wonderful because, number one, I can see it. Sometimes it's hard to see those markings on the plate, on the throat plate. And number two, the Conso machine that I have doesn't have a throat plate that has measurements on it. So it was the best thing I could find to get what I needed and easily replace it when it gets kind of dingy. Works out great. Okay, we're going to stitch this. And I think this is the last stitching we do. Then we just do the final little things. The flap and the finish up, yeah, basically finish up the flap. All right, stick this in. I think that tape is just Scotch. It's by Scotch. Here, I have it right here. Let's look at it. Yeah, it's just the Scotch brand masking tape. And it is masking tape, so it peels off easily. And I like how big the numbers are. I think I got mine at Staples, but again, I know they carry it at Amazon too. Which, what don't they carry at Amazon these days, right? All right. So all we have left is the flap. So basically what's going to happen are these are going to kind of snap together. Okay, inside, we've got a nice fitting lining. And then of course at the bottom, we have our purse feet. So for the flap, what we're going to do is we want to install the other side of the snap first so that we can snap this on, fold this over, and then mark where we need to put our rivets on the back, okay? So I'm going to take the other half of the snap. Now these are the magnetic snaps that we have, those square front magnetic snaps. And what I like about these is that you just untwist them. We're going to punch a hole, twist it back together, and then it's on. It's really a great design. The hole size is 1/2 inch. So we sell 1/2 inch punches in the shop. They're silver. Mine happens to be black, but they come in silver. And all we're going to do is go ahead and obviously on your pattern piece there is a place that you can mark. Where's my pattern piece? Let's see, it's here somewhere. This is the stabilizer piece, but you see there's a place you can mark. So you know exactly where to put the snap. Here's the actual pattern piece. So you're going to match that up. Put a little dot. And then with the magnetic snap piece, I'm going to center that dot and then just draw a little circle. Take the punch, put it right on that circle. Make sure it's centered on there. All right, block your ears. I'm going to go ahead and hit. Yes, you really should have granite. I don't have granite because I didn't want to carry my granite slab over here. But what you really need to have when you punch this is a granite board, and then this cutting board on top of the granite, and your cutters will work beautifully. You need to keep them sharp, okay? But it's going to make a huge difference if you have a hard surface other than your sewing table or some other kind of table when you go to punch this. But we're going to make pretend today. Okay, here we go. All right, that worked pretty good. And all you do, we have these, of course, silver, bronze, nickel. You can put it in either configuration, either in the diamond configuration or in the square configuration. I kind of like the diamond configuration. So the back basically punches through that hole, okay? It fits perfectly. And then you just screw the front on. Now, I do recommend you use a little bit of use a little bit of Loctite adhesive when you put these on, just to make sure they don't, unscrew and you have problems. Okay, looks good. So we're going to attach that. Oh, the other thing I want to do is make my markings for my rivets. So this is an old pattern piece, but I do have markings for you on that. And just use my small punch here. Basically, one goes in the middle and then one goes in each corner. You can either eyeball it or I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to mark it with a pen this way and go ahead and punch those. You okay? Okay. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and connect that. Turn this around. Fold this over. You want this tight, okay? So go ahead and snap your snaps together and mark on the back through the holes you made where you want your rivet placement. Now, one thing to caution you, once you do that, you want to look inside and make sure that you're not going to be punching right through your upper lining. And actually, looks like I'm going to be pretty darn close to that. So what I'm going to do is come up slightly. Okay, because I do not want that to happen. If you punch through that upper lining, that seam, your upper lining and your lower lining are going to come apart. Okay, so that's much better. So now I'm going to go ahead and punch these. Okay, erase these. And then we will get some rivets. And the rivet size I'm using for this is 8 millimeters. It's going to depend a little bit on the thickness of your faux, so just kind of know that. Go ahead and, whoops, put these through. Then we're going to press them in and we're done. We'll have a Rosanne. Okay, so see, if I had gone down much further, I would have been right in that seam. It would not have been good. Candace says, I love your punch. My handles are too wide. Oh, you mean they're too wide this way? You have a hard time gripping it? I think I just got mine on Amazon. It wasn't anything too expensive. It was just a whatever they had. I like the way this turned out. This came out really pretty. We were debating when I was cutting, you know, should we do black or should we do gray? I'm really glad I went with the gray. It's pretty. And I want to really thank all of you for joining me today. This was fun. I know it was out of the blue, but sometimes, you know, that's the best kind. And there we go. The Rosanne. Thank you so much, Melanie. Beautiful bag. Candace says I've enjoyed it. So I really do want to thank y'all for watching. I think that it turned out amazing. And we'll probably do more of these. Let me know in the comments or even on Facebook or email me. Let me know if you would like to do a sew along for this bag or any other bag. You know, we're kind of looking to see what you guys want to do. So, oh, Sean is here. Hey, Sean. Hello, everyone. That's so beautiful. I will have to watch the replay. Yes. Suzanne, hi, Chris. Glad I found you. Suzanne says, lovely bag. So thank you all again. I really do appreciate you joining us. And until next time, everybody, happy sewing.